Man, these past two episodes, episodes 6 and 7 of Free Die for the Future, this season alone is a roller coaster. One episode is all angst, the next episode is all fluff, it goes repeat, it's just up and down and circling around, but I enjoy it. It's like a slow ride that's trying to make you see everything of that experience and just enjoy it. And you know, there's nothing wrong with a slow burn. There's nothing wrong with a slow burn for a story because it actually covers some stuff, some serious questions that we may have, even if it does come to the conclusion that we may not see everything in particular in this season. And just before I get into the review, as you know, I had to come a day later because I had a meeting yesterday, but also I have this big suspicion, this feeling I've been having prior to the season actually premiering that we may have another season depending on how this one concludes. Because believe it or not, we are at episode 7. We're a little over halfway through. We have 5 episodes left. And we still have yet to see 3 of those mysterious characters, that girl and those 2 blonde-haired guys from the opening. So I guess they're going to set them up for something. They're going to introduce them very late, making it a cliffhanger. And then, you know, next thing you know, you're going to hear Hiyori say, oh, there's another season, season 4. And I would not be surprised. But it's all up to them. So, going into these double reviews, starting with episode 6, this one hurt the most. I think this broke a lot of us, and for a lot of people that hated Hiyori, actually started to like him after episode 6. And for those that liked him before, this episode was particularly the heartbreaker. So, it really started off showing us the type of life Hiyori lived prior to him meeting Ikea at a very young age. Of course, we've been getting hints at it, especially if you go back to the opening and the parts where we see the mermaid tail and the little Ikea that was shown in Hiyori's eyes showed us that he knew him from an earlier childhood. So from what we know from Hiyori is he's been alone most of his early childhood due to his parents always working and that he couldn't make friends. And the first person he was able to open up to, the first person he can consider his friend, was Ikea. And I think about the time they first were introduced to each other, the first time they met each other was probably around kindergarten or first grade. But it wasn't until years later, by the time Ikea went to live in America with his brother Natsuya, that they actually met each other again. So even though both of them lived, believe it, in Iwatobi for most of their life, or at least half of their life, they have not seen each other since very early on. And the surprising thing is, Ikea does not remember Hiyori from his early childhood. Now, there can be various factors as to why he doesn't remember him. Probably, you know, young children won't always remember everything the older they get. You're not going to remember everybody. Or it can also be due to the fact that what happened in Japan caused him to forget some early on memories. Who knows? But it's only Hiyori that remembers Ikea. So he had to hide the fact of that. Now, if you take into account of his character and how they explained him early in the episode, he always had a mask on, a facade, in order to cope with his environment and the people around him. So he only put on this mask just so that he can make people comfortable around him while hiding his true self. Now, his true self is this lonely kid who only longs to have someone by his side, someone that he can connect to, and that was Ikea. And of course, we know the incident that happened to Ikea in America with the second drowning incident. But if you look back in the episode and you look through Ikea's memories, because they did show Ikea's memories when he was shown drowning, I think it was episode 5 or episode 4, where we saw where Hiyori saved him, but in Ikkia's memories, he erased Hiyori. So when you take that into account, and the fact that they really put the emphasis on the Little Mermaid in this episode, it's not to say that the Little Mermaid is just a standard, oh, Ikkia's the Little Mermaid and Haru is the prince or Hiyori's the prince. To each of these characters, the Little Mermaid story is changed just a little bit depending on the person. In Ikkia's case, he views himself as the Little Mermaid, right? And to him, Haru is the prince. Okay, so he tried to become a human by gaining human legs and to be with the prince, someone the Little Mermaid loved, someone that they admired. So by the end of the story of the Little Mermaid, Little M turns into sea foam. But when you look in Hiyori's perspective, he views himself as Little Mermaid, simply because in the story of Little M, when Little M saves the prince and brings him back upon shore, Little M had to hide because a human girl was coming in. And when the prince opened his eyes, he thought the human girl was the one that saved him when he was drowning. Now, here's how I'm going to make it so it makes all sense. The Little Mermaid is Hiyori. In Hiyori's vision, he's the Little Mermaid, Ikkia is the prince, and Haru is the human girl. And Ikkia cannot let go what he had in Japan, and that's his biggest problem this season. He can't let go of the past or move, not to say to forget it, but move past it. And the whole thing with Ikkia is he constantly believes he's alone and is totally disregarding the fact that he had Hiyori by his side for many years, and he has a long-standing friendship with Hiyori, longer than he had with Haru. But I guess it's because of that promise, that dream that he had in Japan. It was so big, so large, something that he greatly dreamed of, wished upon, was so great that because everything was broken and torn apart, the promise was done for, everybody went their separate ways. It's like he's trying to hang on to this past, and he has trust issues. He can't connect to anyone, even though he has Hiyori right by his side. Now, I understand with Hiyori's character, they try to play him off as a villain, and I really like how they did it, too. You thought he was a villain, but no, he's just a snake. He's just a gray snake. Okay? A gray morally character that isn't bad or isn't wholeheartedly good, but you know, he's just in that particular zone. He's the middleman. But Hiyori, he always had good intentions when it comes to Ikkia, but it's the way he went about his intentions that didn't seem particularly right. You know, this is making sure that Ikkia does not get involved with Haru and the others. But when you really look at it, Ikkia himself is capable of talking to the other characters. It's just that he chooses not to. And we don't know if it's because he's afraid or he's just trying to continually stretch, my bad, this loner act. We don't know why. What's keeping him from wanting to talk to them? By the end of the episode, they have their argument, which when I look at it and then I do comparison, it actually reminded me of the fight that Haru and Makoto had back in season 2, Eternal Summer, episode 11. They basically play almost the same lines of, like, you know, your dream and aspirations, and at the bottom line, they want them to be happy. And the thing was, both Haru and Ikkia pushed the other one away, pushed Hiyori and Makoto away. The only biggest difference is Makoto and Haru apologized to each other. Hiyori and Ikkia did not, and you see it in episode 7 where this is the college championships is about to happen, and these two are not talking, and at this point Hiyori is by himself. The one person who he could count on as a friend is just not there. He's ignoring him. and he doesn't know where he's going wrong, which really hurts you a lot as someone who is seeing this from the outside. We also see where Ryuji is Haru's private coach without, the pay. The only thing is he takes him out for dinner. But we also see where this championship, if all the swimmers are able to beat their baseline, they can be invited to the All Japan Invitational Championship. This way can see how everybody can do against each other. Even people from overseas are able to join in. Now, this episode was a lot more, uplifting, very lively, because there was at least 2 highlights that made me actually laugh. With Asahi's nephew, Tsukushi, and the battle between Makoto and Ryuji and potato chips. Now, that was definitely the highlights of episode 7. But nonetheless, we had where Naho and Natsuya had a talk, and basically their talk was, how were things going with Ikki and everything. And I really like how Naho said, you need to strain yourself up and to actually be serious about yourself when it comes to swimming and your own brother, because even though Natsuya is a good guy, he is a very genuine person, he always means well, he's not the best example of what an older sibling should be. He usually leaves the matters of watching over his brother or being very involved in his life to Hiyori, leaving Hiyori as a middleman to deal with Ikki. But now, because these two aren't talking, they're at a stalemate, Natsuya has to kind of step in and really talk to his brother, and also in regards to his swimming, because we remember he's been going around the world doing all these little races and earning money and using that money to continue to travel. But I believe Naho knows better. I know that Natsuya may want to actually be a professional swimmer. Not only that, we see where Sosuke is actually moving forward with his dream, and the first step is him going to Tokyo. My guess is he's going to look for a good surgeon in Tokyo and do the surgery there, and then move on from then. So the championships is happening, and we have where everybody's racing. Luckily, Haru and Asahi passed. They're moving on, so they're going to be at the All Japan Invitational. And it came to the point in the episode, I think this was the part that was actually surprising, and I was actually glad for it. Asahi was in a waiting room, and he's talking about, I'm a genius, bringing back something from starting days where he had kind of anxiety when it came to swimming to try to be the best. So they brought back that highlight, showing that he still has his moments where he's just trying to build up his confidence, and that's where he meets Ikki. And the thing was, when I said Ikki is capable of having conversations with everybody, he didn't need Hiyori to protect him. He and Asahi actually have a conversation. So they're talking about how they're doing and what's going on. And the thing that shocked me the most, and actually made me pretty upset with Ikki's character, was him saying he doesn't know if Hiyori is his friend or not. Now, I know for a fact a lot of people are like, they cut off Ikki and so forth. And I'm like, before I try to cut him off, I want to know the reason as why does he believe Hiyori may not be his friend? What's the reason for that? And does he not realize that Hiyori's been by his side for the longest out of all the characters? And why does he continue to believe that he is alone when everybody's trying to reach out to him, trying to help him, trying to form back connections that were lost years ago? Why does he continue with this act? And hopefully within the next episode they'll be able to show as such, because he and Haru are going to face off against each other, and I believe the 100 100, they're going to go against each other in the individual melody. So Haru was swimming. The whole point of him training with Ryuji is also not to only get better, but also to save Ikya. So hopefully he's capable of saving him by next week's episode. And from the looks of the preview, Ikya looks happy. So I don't know what to say, but I enjoyed both these episodes. I mean, episode 6 had my heart torn, and episode 7 just mended it up. So possibly episode 8 will continue on with that trend until the ending of this season. But nonetheless, I may have talked a lot, but it's free. I can't help it. But tell me what you guys thought about these two episodes, episode 6 and episode 7. If there's anything that I may have missed or haven't talked about, touched upon, you can add it in the comment section below on how you felt. What were some stuff that you thought could have happened in these episodes, and what are your thoughts for next week's episode? And I'm Kimmy Chan of Anime Legends Podcast, and I will see you guys later. Bye.